For anyone that was a fan of the original Austin, Texas Real Estate Lab, thank you so much for watching over the years. We've decided to bring it back with a new take, an open microphone, value-driven podcast. Now, we encourage anyone with insights on Austin, real estate agents, business owners, builders, or homeowners to come on and share their opinions and their information that provide value to the people in greater Austin, Texas. If you run a large Facebook group in Austin, get in here. If you want to give opinions on what you think would improve this city, get in here. If you discovered a new neighborhood, have insights on development, or work for a company that's hiring like crazy, hop in here and let us know. Real quick, there's some ground rules if you decide to join this live discussion. Be kind. It doesn't mean you suppress the truth. It means you understand tact. Add value to others. No one wants to hear anyone rant about how great they are. What can someone learn from what you're about to say? And cameras on. Yes, this is a podcast, but it's video first. If you don't want to be on camera, we cordially invite you to participate in the comments section. With that, welcome to the Real Estate Lab podcast, Open Mic Edition. I'm Ian of Austin, and I'm happy you could join us. Hey everybody, welcome to the Real Estate Lab. We are live, open mic edition. I already see that we've got some comments coming on. Let's see. Mark, what did you say? Oh, strange. It locked me into the waiting room. Interesting. That's good to know. Didn't know that. We're using some new software. So we're going to get right into the first episode of Real Estate Lab Open Mic. This is just a generic open conversation about Austin. If you have any thoughts on it, let us know in the comments. And this is for all of y'all. So first question, what is one thing you wish you could change about this city? It's kind of a horrible question. Yeah, no, just open, go.
Affordability for me.
Somebody give me, what do you think you
I'm just going to say, if I'm the only one that's going to talk about traffic, I mean, that would be it. It would be the infrastructure for sure. We got to do something about it. I know we're probably 20 years late, but if there was the one thing I could change, it would be infrastructure and a metro system. We need a really decent metro system, I feel.
I really love that. I think the metro system is something that's underrated in the United States, unless you're in New York or Chicago, and that would bring a lot to us. We do have Project Connect. Has anybody been keeping track of that?
I haven't. Tell us more.
I'll pull it up in a second. What about you, Jenny? What do you think? What would you change about Austin right now?
I'm going to say, having experienced building myself with clients, the permitting process for remodels, for new builds, like, let's get it together. Let's get it faster, move it along.
Yeah.
That's really good as well. I think I've had a new build take. Right now, I'm working on one that should have been done over a year ago. Should have been done a year ago. Done. Isn't that crazy?
That's the very patient clients.
Oh, well, that's a discussion offline. Yeah. Rambo says, same here. And Drew Nelson says, my husband's a project manager for project. Yes, we have questions. Get them in here. That's exactly what we want to be able to do. So I love that. Theo, what do you think? What's something that you would change about Austin if you could?
I think for me is affordability. So it's very, very expensive. And not only to change, but to add more diversity, right? More people, more cultures, more multiculturalism, more having that international flair to it. We talk about it, but it's not actually here. So adding that diverse citizenship, citizenry, we could call it, residency of people from all over the place. And then, to be able to afford, everybody to be able to afford Austin can be, to me, it's my wish list, but I don't know if it's going to happen.
Do you think if everybody could afford Austin, we would have a population crisis? Like legit question, right?
Not in the summertime.
Oh, so it'd be all investment homes is what you're saying.
Well, I'm picking up what you're putting down, Theo, in terms of cultural immersed events, because obviously we have things like ACL and South by Southwest, and we have Eeyore's birthday party, and those are all very traditional Austin things, but maybe more of a highlight on other cultural events, because you go to cities like Houston and they celebrate vast, diverse cultures. That includes like where you go eat. Like if you just say, hey, I'm moving to Austin and I'm Cuban, where are the Cuban restaurants? You know, are there, you know, I'm talking about dining, entertainment, and events like that. I know they have the Carnival Brasilero, I think, and that is for the Carnival. I think it's in February, maybe. But I hear what you're saying in terms of adding some cultural diversity, even maybe not just in residential and real estate world, but in other things.
Yeah, I think I know one restaurant that I would say is a good dim sum restaurant.
Yeah,
as an example. But yeah, Cuban. There was a Cuban place that I went to, and it closed down because of the pandemic and stuff. And so it is getting challenging. Thai restaurants. Gosh.
Yeah,
there's one that I like.
Sure.
Yeah, there's like one. I can think of one of most things, but I can't think of a lot.
Yeah, I think
Chicago style pizza. I'm just kidding. So Alonzo Perez says change. I'm curious what you're referring to. I'm assuming that you're talking about what we would change about Austin. I think it's just change in general. I think that's what that means. And Rambo asks about, was it a custom build? So I don't know who you were referring to, but so let's assume we're talking about the client that I had that was supposed to be done last year. It was not a custom build. It was a production.
Yeah.
It was a small builder is how I'll say it. But I have a production builder that is newer to the Austin area. They have a lot of builds happening elsewhere, but they're newer to the Austin area, and they're taking substantially longer. And I think to Melissa's point, some of it's the permitting or receiving some of the materials. So that could be part of it. And Mark,
I think that was Jenny, but yeah, I agree with you.
Jenny. Thank you. And Mark likes someone's accent.
Probably Theo's.
I was just gonna say I don't want to make any assumptions, but I love it.
I'm just a girl from Austin, Texas, so
no, I think it's my accent. I'm just a girl from Tanzania, East Africa, so hustle and bustle.
Where in South Africa?
No, in Tanzania, in East Africa.
East Africa. Okay. I just found out how much of a percentage of African I have, and I've never been. That's a conversation for another day, but man, I wanted to show Project Connect. For those of you that do or don't know, we have a rail system coming. There was all these votes that were passed, and then they were like, hey, we need this much money. And then later they were like, we need to double that. After the votes passed, we're going to need to double that. And so a lot of the Austin proper's tax revenue, not all, a lot of it, but a substantial chunk is going to be going to providing rail lines, which I think is much needed. All right. So this is public information. It's on the city website. It's also on projectconnect.com. Feel free to check it out. I think that's a valuable addition, as we were talking about.
Yeah. I mean, you go to cities like San Francisco, you have the BART. I mean, it's no secret. We are going to be a major, if we're not already, metro area. And for people who are coming from huge metro areas, huge cities, they come here and they're like, is this all you got? You know, so I'm really happy to see Project Connect.
Do we have a current count on population, including attrition and people that have moved out? Does anybody know?
I wouldn't even know where you find that data.
It's just, it moves so fast, right? Like we used to have, it's X number of people a day. And so we could theorize that it's going to be this. And, but to have an accurate count, I think there are a lot of people that aren't being counted, and there's some stuff there too. But anyway,
I always feel like we're a year behind on that data anyway. When you say, oh, there's on average 100 or so people moving a year, but that was like the previous year's data. So
yeah, I'd love to get somebody on the show that that knows that knows a good way to check. So I've asked for this in the past. If anyone knows a good way to find the migratory patterns for people relocating, so, and not just going to U-Haul, but I'm saying like somebody's moving from San Francisco to Georgetown. Like, how do I keep track of that? And then also someone's moving from Buda to Pflugerville. I need that information. That would open up so much in terms of statistics.
Yeah. From my experience, I would say the last 2 years, I've been really listing heavy. And so because of pandemic, and as a result, you have, working from home, telecommuting, is that what they call it? Whatever you want to call it. You're working from home. You don't necessarily need to be in an office. So a lot of my listings were sellers that were just leaving town and going back to where they're originally from. But as far as people coming in, because I focus on Eastern Travis County, for me, it was placing people a lot in cities like Pflugerville, obviously Manor and Elgin, and Round Rock. So, that's just been my experience. I don't necessarily work the South region as much, but I feel like that's where my clientele has been coming. And as far as where they're coming from, I'm still seeing California, and I'm still seeing other areas of Texas.
Nice. To me, I think I've all the way to Gerald, right? So again, we're talking about affordability. So a lot of people cannot afford these other areas, so they are pushed away. So Gerald, Huddle, Temple, Belton. So we are now, very far away. Kyle, where before people really, didn't want to go there that much. New Braunfels, San Marcos, just all over Elgin, like it's hot now. So all these areas, people are coming from another state, or they come from Houston or Dallas. Some of them are from California, Chicago, New York. They looking where they can get, the best deals, and these are the places.
And a lot of tech. I'm seeing a lot of tech people still. Even
after layoffs?
Well, this is 2022. Yeah,
That's why I'm asking, right? This is good. Yeah, like people today are still moving. I'm still getting people coming to and from. How about you, Jenny? Any thoughts on that?
Mine are getting out of Dodge, like getting out of the country, across the country, Dripping Springs, of course. But I mean, it's a mix. But I have majority of my sellers, they're gone. Like they're not moving within Austin. I have a few that are within Austin, but yeah, they're getting out.
One thing I've noticed that I've picked up, Ian, is on really reaching out to my referral partners in other cities, like Jenny's saying, just out of Austin, out of Dodge, across the United States, really nurturing those relationships. Because you're right, Jenny, they either want to be in the country or out of Austin, and the ones that are coming to Austin, they're still coming for the same reasons, right? The cultural, the what's to come, and then we all know the big bomb that was dropped on us, Tesla. That really surfaced in my business. It was Tesla. That was the kind of buyers I was getting coming in. Tesla.
I've had people, like for listings, I've had people that are leaving, either getting really far out, buying land. They're like, I don't want to be in the city anymore. I want to get out. But they want to stay close. They want to stay in Texas. And then I have the people that are, I don't want to be in Texas anymore. And generally that's driven, which is interesting enough, by two things: weather or politics. And that's not to have a discussion about it, but it's interesting that is what gets people to relocate, right? So like I have a family.
It's too hot here?
Yeah, well, I had a family that moved I had two families that moved to Colorado. They love it there. I was like, okay. And then you have to talk about like property taxes and all that. And, I have another couple that they purchased a home here, because they just needed to get in. They were relocating here. And then they were like, yeah, but we didn't want that house. We just wanted a house. And so now we got to find another house and sell this house. So that's a fun problem, right?
It's a good day in real estate to have that one.
Well, yeah, it is. So Rambo was talking about food options in Austin are tacos and breakfast spots. Yeah, there are a lot of breakfast spots. Breakfast tacos changed my life. Any of y'all?
Oh, well, I'm from Texas, so it's all about tacos.
Know. That's all you know. Good.
When I travel outside of Texas and they talk about burritos, I'm like, no, it's the taco. It's not the burritos.
Yeah, it's a breakfast taco, people. Yeah, data migration would be great. And Rambo says Hutto is affordable again. Are you seeing people coming to Hutto, to or from Hutto? Any of y'all?
Yeah, for sure. I service Hutto, and I would challenge you, Rambo, that yes, it's affordable, but their taxes aren't always the lowest. So those are the conversations I'm having in terms of affordability with clients. Is they are looking at those things more so now than ever because of the elephant in the room, the interest rates. So property taxes is a conversation coming into play nowadays, at least for my clients.
Yeah, I love that note, especially when they come from a place. I was speaking to an agent earlier today, 2 agents, and they were saying they're in Maryland. Mm-hmm. Their property tax rate is around 1%. 1%. I was like, that's pretty nice. Now their prices are a little bit higher, and they have, I think it was like a 6% state income tax. So, they're paying it other ways. It was nice to hear that because I don't live there, but that might be a nice investment opportunity. So Mark asked the question. I'm going to ask you to go first, Jenny. What's the most unexpected place you've heard people talking about moving to or from Austin, in your opinion?
Place.
Oops, sorry. Leave it up.
I don't really have a good answer for that. I do want to answer the taco question though. My
okay, we'll come back to this one. What's the taco question?
Was 17 years ago when I first moved to Austin. I had never had a breakfast taco before that or even heard of them.
He just fell out. He has nothing for you, Jenny. He just fell out.
I'm done here.
I even have shirts that I wear that talk about tacos, hats that I wear that talk about tacos. I have friends who've gotten taco tattoos. It's about the taco.
That's a bit of a commitment right there.
It's a huge commitment, right? She's a realtor too. And if she's watching, you know who you are. You got a taco.
For anybody who's visiting Austin, Texas from elsewhere, whether it's for long-term or short-term, make sure you try a breakfast taco and not necessarily at Torchy's. Torchy's has their place, but it's not the place to go. That's how I feel about it. It's a commercialized breakfast taco, but you need like some Veracruz or give me something else. What else you got?
My first was the original Kirby Lane.
It's a good one.
Kirby Lane was. Sorry, I didn't mean to. It's okay. It is.
Hey, I didn't have anything to judge, right?
That's true. That's like I went to Taco Cabana and I almost I could not. Like, seriously, Taco Cabana? I'm gonna hurt some feelings on that one. Anyway,
not all tacos are created equal.
Not at all. What's the most unexpected place?
I have one. Somebody asked me if they can, to tell them more about Hudson Bend. So that's and why is because of the low tax bracket, tax. So they're not from the. So to me, it was somebody from way outside coming want to be Hudson Bend. I'm like, okay. So that was very unexpected, place, for somebody. And another, I've realized that he was an investor also looking because they have no HOA. So there's no HOA, tax very low, you're nearby the Lake Travis. and also people around is nearby, almost within Lakeway. So you have affluent, people around you as well. And school district is really good. So that's, I feel like was unexpected, but in a way expected.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think there are a lot of places that are within an hour or an hour and a half of Austin that you can get a great home if you are looking to go into your legacy years or something like that, or you just don't mind to drive, or you work remote, any of those things, or you want a small town. But what I end up losing though is, or what you end up losing is, I think some of these investors, if they're not playing the long game, if they think they're going to buy this and then sell it next year for a profit, like a high profit, I don't think that's the place.
No.
Right? Would you agree?
I would agree. But speaking of like an unexpected place, I found this really interesting when I was talking about affordability with some clients and asking, how far, like you say, Ian, how far would you drive to the metro area? And for a while there, I was really pushing Taylor, Texas. And then you have the little town outside of Taylor, Thrall, Texas. And then you get this big announcement late summer that Samsung is building. When you talk about enormous, like if there's a bigger word for enormous, what they are building out there in Taylor is huge. And if you thought Tesla was big, multiply that times 5. And that's what Samsung is building in Taylor, Texas. So it's not a secret anymore. I don't know. It's might not be affordable for much longer, but it was at one point and probably right now affordable. And that was a surprise for me that people would actually consider moving a little bit further out, but now it all makes sense.
It's gargantuan, that plant that they're building. And I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Samsung's already here. Like they already have a pretty established presence here, but they were like, let's go all into Austin, the Austin area. And we've got lots of reasons why. So it's impressive to see the size of the plant, but you also have to think about, because it's a plant, and this is really important, because it's a plant and it's kind of out off of the main travel corridor, you have to think about the wages of the people that will be working there. Right? Isn't that important? Right? The wages, because it's not like the same wages you would get at Oracle on the south side, south of the river. It's not the same.
They're not. So the residential real estate needs to be at a pace to where people can still afford it. I agree. By the way, that new plant, that Samsung plant, is like 23 minutes from my house. It's really, really close.
On the fastest highway.
Yep. On the fastest highway.
Yeah. Hold on. I got to pull this up. 300-inch TV. I don't need a 300-inch TV. I need a projector. That's it. All right. Did you answer one, Theo? Did you answer, Melissa? Unexpected place? I like this question, so that's why I keep going back to it.
Yeah, I think it, for me, was it was probably Lago Vista, but that's not a hidden gem anymore. It's not as affordable as it used to be 7 years ago. Even the lots are more expensive.
I have a guy that, and this wasn't this year, this was actually a year and a half ago, but I still want to bring it up because I think it's pretty cool. He relocated from Costa Rica, lived there for a few years, and started to grow his family. And he had 2 school-age daughters. And he said, I want them to, be integrated into society, learn the American school system, and kind of get used to that. And I thought, well, that's pretty cool. And so we ended up getting a place northwest of Austin. And I think they're happy, right? I think that's exactly what he needed and ended up getting relocating here. So I thought that was really, really cool that he came from another country. Neat. What else do we have? Whoa. Velvet Taco, thumbs up in the comments if you like Velvet Taco. All right,
controversial. I've never had one. Controversial.
No, it's a they've got a bunch of them. They've got one on the Domain. They've got one South Congress, I think, has one. Anyway, so new builds in San Marcos as well. We just moved to Trace, and there's a lot of development here. As a lender, we are also seeing rates level out, which is good news. Not sure how long they will stay, but for a while we are back to September 2022 rates. And just for those of you that don't know, the reason why I'm reading it is because this also gets published as an audio podcast on Spotify, on Google, and all those other platforms. And so I want to make sure that those comments aren't being ignored. Cool. So yes, anybody have any builds in San Marcos or anything happening down there? I know it's not directly in our market, but sometimes we drive.
I think DR Horton is there. All the big builders are there. I was showing clients from New Jersey the other day, so they have to drive all the way. We have to drive to New Braunfels, Kyle, Buda. All the big dogs are over there. So I think it is very diverse in terms of, it's nearby the downtown, so that's why people like it. And you're not far from San Antonio, and those are the areas.
It's a solid corridor between San Antonio and South Austin. And because it's another small college town, it's the A&M crowd. I think you end up with a younger demographic. The property taxes are still pretty low there. I had some clients that were moving from Dallas. We just closed on Friday last week, and it was between San Marcos and Elgin. And they ultimately chose Elgin for part of our conversation, but San Marcos was high in the rankings for that very reason, just because of the growth opportunity. But I think the discussion ended up being it's going to grow too fast. Yeah, which is kind of fun. So let's answer this one. Rambo asks, what's our best areas to buy in and close to Austin if you had to pick one? That's a rough question, man.
Well, she answered one. San Marcos is one. Euland.
You're right.
Euland is another one. It's right outside of Kyle. Very affordable. San Marcos, very affordable. If I had to buy an investment property right now or put a first-time buyer, I'm looking at Euland. I'm looking at San Marcos. I'm looking at what is Thrall. If not, well, yeah, Taylor. I would also look at Taylor. And there's a little town outside of Lockhart, and I can't think of the name of it right now, but I'll find it. And that's where I would look for a good deal.
Jenny, where's a good deal to you? Where would you buy?
I'm liking Elgin a little bit, and Taylor. I've always loved Taylor, but that's because it's just such a sweet little town.
It is. It's so cute.
It's a sweet town. I actually have a listing. I have a listing coming up in Taylor. It's a 9-unit apartment complex.
Nice.
That was owned and lived in by one person. So
nice.
If anybody's interested, and it's right on the corner of 4th Street. Sorry, not 4th, 7th. It's right on the corner. So it could be the coolest commercial Airbnb in the future. So if anybody has some investor clients, hit me up. Off market right now.
I do, and I do want to hear about that. The little town outside of Lockhart, Maxwell. So for a good deal. And one more, which is one of my favorite little towns, is Seguin. So I would go Maxwell, Seguin, Euland, Taylor on the outskirts. And because I live in the Manor Elgin area, and Jenny probably knows this, there's a ton of development in the works coming up here.
I'm going to touch on Seguin. That's
Me too. I was going to say the same thing. You go.
I've got a house down there, and I'm enjoying it a lot. And the town itself is growing. The surrounding area is growing. It's moving. You're between San Antonio and Austin, so yeah.
Jenny's like, don't give my little town away.
I know, I have thought about that because it's my retreat to get out of the city. I have a house on the river, and so that's that's my little vacation spot.
Yeah.
What's the point, the like iridescent glowing lake island in Seguin? What is that called? I forget.
Oh,
Sun's Island. Sun's Island.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to say though, if you are buying in Seguin and you're thinking about buying on the river, you need to have a very knowledgeable real estate agent that knows that area to help you, Those lakes are turning into rivers. They're going to be rivers for at least the next 2 years. And you got to know that if that's what you're buying. You got to know what you're getting.
Lake Placid, Meadow Lake, Lake McQueenie.
Meadow, Placid, McQueenie. Nolte is going to be coming back soon. But right now, starting March 27th, everyone will have river, not lake.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I think this comment here is talking about Velvet Taco. Never heard of it. Never heard of it. What? It's good. It's pretty good. I think that just means that we just gave you something to go try in the next couple of days. So let's see. What is this? These are different builders. Chesmar, DR, Pacesetter, Braun, and Terracotta. Terracotta is the former LGI, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, they bought LGI. Okay.
LGI, yeah. It is, no, wait. LGI and Terracotta are one and the same. They bought out, I can't even think of the name of it right now, Ian, but they are one and the same. So Terracotta would be like their, emerald version. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And at some price points under 300, which is phenomenal this day and age, I think.
The ones that we mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Yulin.
Maxwell, this is the one that you had mentioned. That's kind of interesting. Yes, on Seguin. That's good. That's good. All right, so let's see. I have some more questions. What was I going to ask? When this is subjective, that's why I wanted to ask it. When someone says they want a good deal, what does that mean to you? Aaron's in the house. Now we know. Aaron, when someone says they want a good deal, what does that mean? What do you think, Melissa?
Okay, I'll go first. I don't mind. So, and it is subjective, and we all know that. So, if you know what your income level is, so it's all subjective, right? So, for me, and my clientele, most people that I service, when they're looking for a good deal, they're looking for anything under the 400K mark. But to me, a slamming deal is anything under 350, and an unbelievable deal, and if you're willing to drive the hour, is under 300, and you can still get that. So for me and my clients and what I'm seeing, I'm that girl. I want a deal and I want it for my clients. So I'm that one looking in the MLS constantly for homes under 300K. Because remember, I'm from Austin. So these houses were 50, 60,000, years ago. And before the big boom, before Dell, it was unbelievable what you could get here. So for finding anything under 300, that is a slamming deal to me.
I'm going to come back to this comment. Aaron says it means they don't know what they want. That's funny. And it's spot on. Ginny or Theo, what do you think?
Yeah, so I took a different view on that. Go ahead.
Okay, I think to me, a good deal is when they're buying below their budget, right? So they're qualified for 400,000 and they get a deal for 280. That's definitely a damn good deal. Yeah. But at the same time, also, if seller pay a lot of concession, right? So they don't have to bring much to the closing table, and I think overall they feel that they have a lot of cushion on their budget, and also they're getting a good house as well at the same time. So all of that is a combination. So looking at the area, less expenses in their mortgage, in their monthly expenses, that also can be a good deal for both investors and a primary resident.
What do you think, Jenny?
I love those.
Yeah, I'm going to echo some of that. It's something that when they get that appraisal back, they're going to feel good with a big smile. But also something that meets their needs. Like, not just, it's not a good deal if you're in a house that you don't like, right? A good deal is something that you feel like you can afford. It is maybe less than what you thought it would be. And it's your place that you feel good about.
Yeah. I have to ask this question because I get this question a lot. Almost every other investor client says, I need a good deal. Mm-hmm. They might not say it in so many words, but that's what they mean, right? And so I think what I've learned to handle is if they say they want a good deal, it's whatever the average prices are or whatever the list price is, or whatever the comps end up being, it needs to be a percentage under that. And it could be some arbitrary, 10%, 15%, 25%. And if it's an investment purchase, oftentimes it doesn't even matter how nice the house is. It still has to be rentable. It has to have low taxes and all these other variables that are just assumptions, but also it has to be less than what everyone else is paying for a house. And that feels like a good deal. And I just want to say it's, I'm not saying it's unrealistic. I'm saying that's what everybody wants.
Would you say investors here recently, for me at least, they don't want anything on the MLS. They want something off the MLS. So, what is a good deal to them? Like you say, it's subjective. There are variables. And it's not as easy to find the off market as it used to be.
Well, yeah. And it depends on what they're trying to accomplish here. If they're talking about cap rate, they need to have a house that will rent for a certain amount over what they're paying in mortgage. Like that's a whole other conversation. That's a different type of an investment conversation, or if they're just trying to turn it over, or if they're going to repair it. There's so many different variables in there. But yeah, I think mostly it's, I don't want to pay what other people are going to pay. I want to pay the secret price. And it's like, well, okay. What's the secret price? Yeah. And Rambo says, what do they mean by a good deal? Exactly. It's exactly what I want to know.
Yeah. 10% off market price, but it has a foundation issue. They used to cook meth in it. Okay. What?
So Aaron says,
I'm a little further down on the.
Oh, I'm getting there. Oh, I think I can read this without being banned on YouTube. Aaron says, at Ian, going to disagree with you. It's 10% off market price, but it has a foundation issue. They used to cook things in it, things we shouldn't say on the internet. Yeah, you know what? I don't think that matters. So I'm going to counter that argument. I don't think that matters. I think as long as they can still get a good rent roll, they'll buy it. Right?
They're tired.
Maybe it's in a section of town where that's the point. Maybe. This is bad. What are you guys talking about? Oh my
Next
God.
question. No, I'm kidding.
Next question. Oh wait, maybe it's me. Sorry, I just can't hear anyone. Okay. Let's see. Bingo. Back to driving for dollars. So Christopher said back to driving for dollars. I am going to say it's echoed across the real estate world. And you ladies, let me know if you've heard this same thing. It seems like a lot of us are going back to what we were doing in 2017, 18, and 19 in order to find clients and to find deals and have conversations with people. Because for the last 2 years, a lot of people just had to exist or say they had a license, and then they would end up with sales as a byproduct. And so now people are actually having to learn their craft pretty well.
I agree. I mean, my philosophy is people want to be helped. They don't want to be sold. So if you're helping people and you're authentic and you put their needs above, you'll be successful in this business. But I'm back to, like you say, Ian, I'm back to looking at my database, doing the community events that I got too busy to do in the last 2 years. I mean, it's how I built my business in Maynard. I was coffee club. We'd meet on once a month. I was, doing things in the neighborhood, putting my face out there. I miss those things. I miss my connection with people. And so I am going back to those things, and I'm glad to have the time to do it. So I'm not so concerned. I know the business will come. And again, it's about helping people. So.
Are you doing open houses?
I'm doing open houses, and I'm definitely doing them in my neighborhood on my listings and other listings. Can you believe I will do an open house?
I do not believe it. That's why I asked the question.
I will do an open house. Yes, I will.
I mean, I'm not saying I won't do it. I'm saying I don't do it. I don't want to do it.
You know what the going rate is for open houses, right?
The going rate? Oh, you're going to answer for me. What is it?
Okay. So if you're paying an agent to do an open house in this market, most of them won't walk out the door for under $75. So it's roughly $25 an hour to pay someone to do an open house. Well, if I'm working mostly this East Corridor and I'm living in the neighborhood where I'm listing homes, I want my face at the door, someone on my team. So it's worth it for me to do those 3 hours or someone on my team to do those 3 hours because we're working again on doing things the way they used to be done, connecting with people, being in front of people. I think it's worth it in the long run.
Yeah, let me take a step back. I think there's value in that, but I also just don't know that. I don't want to do it. That's part of it. I just don't want to do it.
He's honest.
But I also have a team. So I have like, I don't know, 12 agents or whatever on the co-team that I can pass. I would rather them learn and we talk about it and they become more successful by learning through the process. But a lot of times, like, you got to think about agents like as a job. The open house, for those of you watching, the open house is not to sell the house. It is a conversation starter for a lot of people in the neighborhood. And then maybe for the realtor to meet new clients. And that's fine. It is exposure for the house. And that's really important. So I'm not like, I know that it's not, there's a very low, less than 1% probability that somebody's going to buy that house because I did an open house at that place. But there are already people that want to see it. And maybe it's easy enough for them to go with their own realtor and show up at this open house. And we hope that they don't show up with the realtor and we get to have a new client as a result. So it's really interesting. But I think a lot of people do it because they just want to see, they want to be nosy, or they want to learn kind of what's going on in the area. I don't know how many people, and I could be way off on this, but I don't know how many people today are going because they're looking to see that exact house. They're usually going to like 9 houses and it's something to do for the weekend.
So we're over 50% on having an open house and having a listing and someone on the team procuring a buyer from that listing to purchase a home. So you're right. It may not necessarily be that home. Exactly. Yeah.
My last listing just closed with that open house buyer.
That's gold. I do not hear that very often. So that's very cool.
2 million. Yeah.
So here's the question. That person came in with a realtor, right? Like usually over a certain price point. This is a controversial topic.
Controversial thing to say, yes.
I'm gonna say it anyway. Usually over a certain price point, there's a knowledge cliff where people decide that they need a real estate agent before they're shopping for homes. And so, yeah, 1.2 million, they're going to have an agent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I did have quite a few that came in. It's the neighborhood.
Yeah, but I was going to say the people that came in that didn't have an agent, can they afford the house?
I mean, it's neighbors that are thinking about, hey, do I want to redo mine or do I want a new one that's already been redone?
I'm just saying. It's a good question to ask.
And I think also, I think sometimes they're coming and checking out for their friends. They want their friends to be their neighbors, right? So they'll come in and say, hey, we like this house. So neighbors come and you'll be amazed what they can bring to the table in terms of, prospects and stuff. But talking of real estate, the way it is evolving right now, I feel like now the realtors, we have to work harder than before.
If you're trying to get me to do an open house, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, low hanging fruits. They're there, but they're not many of them. So we have to make those phone calls. We have to connect. We have to really show the value and position ourselves, before you just get people, from anywhere. Right now, people are kind of like away. They're backing up. They're afraid because of interest rates. They're afraid because of all inflation. All this news is confusing everybody. So they want to hear from their realtor. And if you're kind of realtor that.
Oh, what happened to her? No. She was speaking.
I think her connection is a little spotty. But while she mentioned Aaron's favorite word, inflation. So did you see the article that came out from CNBC and other places? I'm just going to start with CNBC. And it talked about while it only went up 25 basis points, they said, the January numbers came out, and now we're thinking we still have an inflation issue, and they're talking about raising it even more in the next session in March. So I'm really curious how that's going to play out.
Yeah. Well, hopefully Theo can jump back in. She was bringing up a really good point.
Okay, couple things have gone back and forth. So I like what Joe says. A good deal is mortgage, property tax, HOA is all covered in rent. I'm gonna tell you something. There are a couple other things in there. Floating costs. If somebody doesn't rent out the property for 2 months, that's a big one. Home warranty costs, unless you want to be the one that gets called at 3 a.m. when the toilet goes out. Or in my case, my water heater exploded, so they're actually demoing downstairs because it's it's in the attic, so it goes through 2 floors. I'm like, seriously, people, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
That's wild.
And then if you're going to do a property manager, so that eats into your profitability very quickly. So let's see. Aaron says, as an investor, I have certain numbers I need to hit. If I can't hit it, I just won't buy, no matter the deal. And I think that's why you're in the position you're in, Aaron, is how I'll say it.
Hi, Aaron.
Christopher McChesney, farming, etc. The money's not running down the street anymore. 40% of loan officers did not renew their license. So it's an indication that you must get a professional to survive, as that is in the world today. And I think that's very, very true. Yes, Aaron and I closed the deal, and we have not met. I think we saw each other's cars while driving on the road, I think is about where it was at. And, let's see. I do them for free in San Marcos. So that's good. If I know that I've got some houses going on down there. Christopher, you're going to be my call. Mark asks if you did show a house to in person to Ian, did he backflip at the house? That's a good question. That's good. Here's the thing. I don't like being center of attention sometimes. And so if I'm doing, that's like so much pressure. And the only time I would make a mistake and hurt myself and probably break like my leg is because somebody, I've got all the eyes on me. So I don't know.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
It's a good question. Open houses. Yeah. They want to see what's available and how their house compares. That's very true. So if you are listing a home with your agent, first off, if you're listing your home without an agent and you're not doing it and you're not getting someone to hold the house open, shame on you. But if your agent holds the house open, it is exposure to the neighborhood, and there are nosy neighbors that come by. And like Theo said, and I think Melissa, you said this, and Jenny, if you sometimes have people that will have a little bit of clout in conversations with their friends. They get to choose their neighbors. That's a good marketing tactic. Midday rates hit 6.75 today. Is that good? Like, are we celebrating that? Let's say we're celebrating that. Oh, okay. So Aaron's asking if there's anybody has any timeline on Lakeside Meadows in Pflugerville. That's his neighborhood that he wants to break into. Do either of you know anything about Lakeside other than that it's coming?
I'm saying it's coming.
Yeah, I was telling him the other day that I used the word stalking, but I'm going to roll back. I was investigating and researching the one of the new directors that was hired to head up the project. And so she didn't have anything important to say yet.
Why so secretive?
No, because of inflation. Yeah, why so secretive? I actually think that Lakeside Meadows project was stalling, just like the Leander Springs project, which I haven't heard anything on lately. And for those of you that don't know, it's in Leander, they're building a beach, man-made beach that looks like you're off the coast of Hawaii. It's beautiful, and you'll have shopping and all that stuff around. I don't know if it's going to be pay to play or whatever, but that's incredible. I think a great value for people in the area, and so I want that to be here now. But there's a website you can go and invest, and that's it. Like they don't have any updates. I'm trying to think of the last time I checked, but they didn't have any major updates for a while. And I think it had stalled for a little bit. So let's see. Aaron Morrison, you were talking about Fed saying they hold of inflation. So markets responded and went up. Already went up. Oh.
In real time.
Killing us. And that just goes back to the affordability of the area in general, right? Wow. Okay, so while we're here, we only have a couple more minutes left. Let's talk about, I know it's Valentine's Day. I know it's a little foo-foo, I think is the word.
I'm the only one in Valentine's theme.
I know. I'm wearing purple.
What's going on, Jenny and Ian?
I've got chocolate downstairs.
Earrings, but one of them was broken, so I had to take them out.
Hey, I'm wearing my Valentine's Day hat.
Okay.
So keep that in mind. Anything about the market in general that you want to share with people that they need to know?
Anything specific for me?
Yeah, specific about the Austin market, something that's like a mic drop. You got anything?
Okay, I've been thinking about this recently because I've been dealing with it. If you're thinking of buying in Austin, on the east side especially, you need to know where those short-term rentals are in regards to your brand new property that you're thinking about. I have one we're going to look at tomorrow. I did a search on Airbnb to make sure, and lo and behold, one of the notorious, terrible ones are 2 doors down. So, it's a new thing. Like, we didn't have to think about this a few years ago, but now you do kind of need to know who your neighbors are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's really good.
Jenny, to your point, Jenny, my grandmother got the letter. A little bit about me. I'm from East Austin. My family still lives in East Austin. So we're at breakfast table with grandma, and she hands my mom a letter, and it's from the city, letting her know that someone's purchased registered an Airbnb 2 houses down from her. She's 90 years old. So you're right, Jenny, like really know where you're buying and what you're getting into. And it is the nature of the beast. It's the train that we can't stop. It is what it is. And we know what's going to happen in Austin. I don't have a mic drop, Ian, for the audience. I would just say for anyone who's truly on the fence about buying, we know what the interest rates are. And it doesn't have to be a permanent fixture in your mortgage. But if there's a good deal to be had, now is the time to do it. Because the house you're considering, and we all know this, is just going to be more expensive if you wait. But right now, any agent that you reach out to and trust and will choose to represent you should be able to identify either new construction communities that are offering tons of incentives. So it's not uncommon for you to get an appliance package, $10K in flex cash, $8K in closing costs, special interest rates, things that we just haven't seen in the last 2 years. All of that is happening again. They welcome you. They welcome your realtors to represent you. So it's not necessarily a mic drop, but it might be an aha moment for people who watch a lot of news and get the doom and gloom of the interest rates. Don't let that affect you. Contact an agent that you know, like, and trust. And if it's time for you to buy, go for it. Just go for it. That's my little pen drop moment.
That's good. Here's my mic drop. And it's not a good one.
Oh, no.
if you think you're going to get a deal on a house that you're buying, you're probably not going to get the same. That buyer who's buying your house is probably going to want the same thing. It hurts. Yeah. That's the reality of it. Everybody's like, oh, I want a deal on my end, but then I want to win on the other end. And it's like, listen, I know that would be the perfect situation. Yeah. But if you don't want to spend money on one end, chances are you didn't spend money on the other end, and your house is not up to par with some of the other houses that are in the neighborhood. And so maybe you should go to an open house and see what the competition looks like. And your realtor has access to be able to do that. So if we're doing listing appointments now, one thing that we're doing is taking people around the neighborhood so they can see directly what their competition is, instead of all this picture business. Like, no, this guy has a pool. That's why he sold that house for $40,000 more. And that's usually crazy. That doesn't happen, except for some reason it did. And your house does not compare. Mm-hmm. You need to know this. You need to be realistic about it.
I like that, Ian. It's just really being truthful to your clients and allowing them to see the reality for what it is. And and hey, sellers, sell your house. And just know that what happened in the last 2 years that was not normal. But don't be afraid to sell your house and get what you want or need. Just be realistic with the price.
I like this. Leander Springs has some major build milestones that need to be met by 2031. So yes, that I want to see some activity. So if you ever have anything, Joe, that you think is a good update, let us know. I'd love to be able to kind of keep on that. And I'm going to start what is it? Not stalking, researching those people too, and see. Just price fixed a 30-year, 96 loan to value, and the borrower paid 5.1. First off, should that person be buying a house? No, I'm just kidding. That's no. They've got a 740 credit score. They've been responsible. All good. Best advice: don't use an agent that does less than. I read 5 trillion. I think you changed the number. Oh, you said 10 million and then 5 million. Yeah. I think having an agent that has experience, there's always something to be said about that. But there's the other side of the coin, and I'm not trying to put any of us out of a job. I'm just saying the other side of the coin is a brand spanking new agent.
Yep.
If they're hungry and they have nothing to do, they will be on everybody like glue. They'll say, okay, what do you want, some cookies? I'll bring you some cookies. Like, I will do everything for you. You want me to babysit your kids? Let's do it. Let's go. Like,
I appreciate a new hungry agent. You know, I really do.
I've had a few.
And really, when they're like, hey, I'm willing to learn from you, Melissa, or I'm willing to learn from this other agent, or we're in a transaction together. Hey, I'm a new agent, but tell me, you know, what you think about this and how would you know, like, hey, there's something wrong with a new agent who's, like you said, on the hustle.
Yep. Yeah. Nothing wrong with it.
And has a good group behind them.
Now, they do need to have some kind of mentor, because if they're doing that and they have no idea what they're writing down on these contracts, that's a different conversation.
Yeah.
So 12/31 is where the end of this year is where we're supposed to get some information. Need to have some information about Leander Springs. So I'm going to keep my eye on that. Really exciting. Rambo says deals take work. No easy deals, like no free lunches. I don't know. I get free lunches all the time. Every title company officer, every lender, they're like, hey, you want to go to lunch? No. You know what? They changed. None of them are taking us out to lunch anymore. They're like, you want to get some coffee? Coffee.
Yeah. Hi, Aaron.
I drink 9 things of coffee a day. I don't need your coffee. No, it's good. I like going out for coffee. If you want to invite me to coffee, I'm out. I'm down. Let's do it. Aaron has to bounce. Look at this. Conventional 80%, 740 score borrower paid 5.99%. Is that with a rate buy down, or is that just like that's just what you closed them at? Because that seems pretty good considering. Well, it was also last week, right? Right. You show me that number like right this second, and I'll be impressed. I'm just kidding. I'm impressed, Christopher. Anyway, thank you everybody for watching. We'll be back in 2 weeks. And hopefully we have the same ladies and more. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out, comments, all that sort of stuff. All of our contact information is in our names on here, and looking forward to seeing y'all again soon.